Okay, here. Most parents have absolutely no idea how much ADHD will cost them until it's too late. I mean, really cost. Where we're not just talking about a few extra doctor's visits. Managing ADHD can drain your savings. It can drain your budget. It can leave family scrambling, sometimes for years. Now, a 2007 study found that families spend anywhere from $12,000 to nearly $18,000 per year just to manage ADHD symptoms. And that's per child. But I want to tell you, here's the real shocker. Even with insurance, out-of-pocket costs of ADHD can be shocking. Now, parents aren't just paying for doctor's visits and medication, they're also losing income from missed days of work, shelling out for tutors and covering the hidden costs that no one ever warns them about. So today, in this live training, we're breaking it all down. How much an ADHD diagnosis actually costs, the real price of medication with and without insurance, and the hidden expenses that no one talks about, but every parent listening needs to know. Now, if you've never tuned into one of my lives, I'm Dana Kay, a board certified holistic health and nutrition practitioner. I'm also a mum of a child with ADHD. I specialize in helping families find natural solutions to ADHD symptoms. And trust me, once you see these numbers, you'll never look at ADHD treatment the same way again. So let's talk money. If you're tuning in live, give me a wave in the comments. Tell me where you're tuning in from. I love to hear where everyone is coming in and tuning in from. Now, why is ADHD so expensive? The biggest issue in my experience is that many of the treatments for ADHD, they provide sort of this short-term relief, but they don't address the underlying stresses of ADHD. Families can spend thousands on ADHD medication, therapy, and evaluations only to feel sort of stuck in this endless cycle of expenses. And that's because they're never really getting to the underlying issue. They're just sort of managing symptoms. So, what's the solution? First, okay, parents need to understand exactly how much an ADHD diagnosis and treatment really costs, including the hidden costs no one talks about. Number two is it's time to rethink how we invest in our children's health. Many parents won't hesitate to spend money on, say, an iPhone or a family vacation, yet they hesitate to invest in long-term solutions for their children's well-being. Now, in this quick training, we're going to break down everything, all the costs associated with ADHD, and we'll also explore ways to reduce costs and find solutions that actually work long term. Because, the goal isn't just to spend less, it's to sort of spend smarter on what truly helps your child thrive in the long run. So, let's say you've decided to get your child tested for ADHD, but now you're wondering, well, how much does ADHD testing actually cost? Well, the truth is, it really does depend. There actually isn't a single price tag for an ADHD evaluation because costs really sort of vary based on who does the testing, where you live, and whether you have insurance. Some families pay just a small copay, while others shell out sort of thousands out of pocket. I can tell you that when we did this for my son, we paid about $5,000 out of pocket. But I just want to break it down so you guys know what to expect. Now, with insurance, you can expect to pay a copay, which is typically $20 to $50 per visit, and then meet your deductible. Without insurance, out-of-pocket costs can be anywhere from $500 to $5,000, depending on where you go. So if you go to your child's pediatrician or primary care doctor, which is typically the quickest and cheapest way to get an evaluation, it'll likely cost $100 to $500. But again, if it's covered by insurance, you'll just have to pay a copay. If you go to a psychologist, which is what you want to do if you're looking for a proper ADHD diagnosis and an in-depth sort of behavioral assessment, it'll likely cost sort of 500 to 2,500. And finally, if you go to a neuropsychologist, will give you the most comprehensive information. I personally think that this is the best way. This can cost anywhere from 1,000 to 5,000. If you're looking for an affordable ADHD diagnosis, you want to start with a pediatrician and see what your insurance covers. And if you need that more in depth testing and you can't afford a psychologist or a neuropsychologist, check if your school district or local university actually offers low cost assessments, which is amazing. Sometimes they do. Now, when it comes to ADHD testing, the cost sort of largely depends on your insurance or lack of it. Now, my recommendation is to call your insurance provider before actually scheduling the ADHD evaluations. You want to ask these questions. Is ADHD testing covered under my plan? What providers are in network? You want to ask that because going to an out of network means sort of higher costs. And does the plan cover psychological or neuropsychological testing? Now, insurance can lower your costs, but it can also be frustrating. Many parents have to sort of deal with these really high deductibles or pre-authorization requirements and out of network providers. So again, make sure to reach out to your insurance provider before getting a child's evaluation. Now, let's say you've got the diagnosis. This is just the beginning. Now, for many families, after a diagnosis, there is only one option provided for symptom management, and that's medication. Now, I will say I'm not against medication. There definitely is a time and place for it. However, I do feel like it's important for all families to know all of their options, and medication is not the only option. When my son was first diagnosed with ADHD, this was the only option that was presented to us. And I've heard the same story over and over again from other families of children with ADHD. The truth is, there are other options. Medication is not the only way to reduce symptoms. Now, one thing to keep in mind if you are considering medication is that for many families, the cost per month can be shockingly high, especially if insurance doesn't cover it. The monthly cost of ADHD meds can range. It can be $10 if it's covered by insurance to over $300 or even more, depending on if you're buying brand name or generic, your insurance coverage, your child's dose and frequency, and also your pharmacy's pricing. Plus, many ADHD medications, especially stimulants, are controlled substances, meaning they require frequent doctor visits and monthly prescription refills. So these costs, they can add up quickly. I will tell you that when my son was originally on medication back in the day, about 10 years ago, we used to have to go to the doctor every single month. We used to have to get that prescription, and we actually had to pay some of the cost of the medication out of pocket. So the bottom line is that ADHD meds are an ongoing cost. After an initial diagnosis, many families think medication will be the be all and end all solution and that magical pill that will fix everything, like I did back in the day. But, they also forget that it's an ongoing, never ending cost. It's not addressing any of the underlying stresses that might be exacerbating your child's ADHD symptoms. So instead, it's sort of this band aid solution, dealing only with the symptoms at the surface level and not really sort of getting down deep into actually what's going on beneath the surface. Now, let's quickly touch on a few other costs that many people aren't aware of, because medications aren't the only expense parents need to consider with ADHD. Now, another expense many families face after an ADHD diagnosis is the ongoing cost of ADHD coaching, therapy, specialized support services, and these treatments, they aren't cheap, unfortunately. They're often not covered by insurance. ADHD coaching is becoming increasingly popular especially for older kids and teens who need help with organization, time management, executive functioning skills. An ADHD coach can help kids sort of develop routines and focus strategies, work on motivation, goal setting, self discipline, those sort of things. But they can cost anywhere from $75 to $200 per session. And like I said, insurance rarely covers ADHD coaching. So it's sort of considered a non-medical service. Another common therapy used to treat ADHD, especially in younger kids, is behavioral therapy, like cognitive behavioral therapy or, CBT. These can cost $100 to $250 per session, and insurance may cover part of the cost, but only if your provider is in network. ADHD often overlaps with sensory issues, speech delays, and motor coordination challenges. And so some kids need occupational therapy, OT, or even speech therapy as a part of their treatment plan. You're looking anywhere from 500 to 300 per session for these specialized therapies. Hello, what's the cost of the testing you provide, please? So we do functional lab testing where we look deep down in the body, and this can range as well. Every child is different. It can range from, as low as $700 up to $5,000, but this is really getting to the underlying issues that are really exacerbating symptoms. So that's more of a once-off cost rather than this ongoing cost like what I'm explaining here. Now, some insurance plans, they cover OT and speech therapy, but only if they're deemed medical necessary. So, bottom line, ADHD can cost a lot. For those tuning in, I'd love to hear from you. Have you tried any of these therapies or treatment options for your child? Have they been helpful or not so much? Let me know in the comments here on this live training. So far we've talked about how much ADHD testing, medication can cost, along with various therapies. But there are other hidden costs as well, costs that most parents don't think anything about. And that comes in the form of missed work days. Many mums and dads miss work for ADHD testing, follow-up appointments, therapy appointments, medication check-ins, school meetings, so like those IEP evaluations, 504 plan discussions, and staying home with children as a result of school suspensions. Now, one mother that I worked with not too long ago, she had 2 sons with ADHD and 1 son with ASD. She was receiving calls from the school on a daily basis where 2 of her sons had actually been suspended from school a total of 36 times in the previous year to working with me, just alone, 36 times. She was like on the brink of losing her job because of all the missed days of work. And sadly, her situation is far from abnormal. It's very common for parents of kids with ADHD to miss more work days than parents of children without ADHD. And so this can lead to a huge financial impact for some families. Have you ever had to pick up your child from school because of their ADHD symptoms, because they got sent home, or you had to pull them out because they needed to go to an appointment? The bottom line is that ADHD costs a lot of money because of the ongoing needs of the families that experience it. For many families, ADHD treatment feels like sort of this emotional, endless financial drain, doctor's visits, therapy, medications, school accommodations, they all add up. But, as the question was asked to me earlier, what does it cost for the testing that I do? Is there a way to reduce costs in the long run while actually improving your child's symptoms? That's where natural strategies come in. So instead of just managing those symptoms, you actually target the underlying stresses that are contributing to ADHD. And when you address these stresses, you reduce your dependence on costly treatments over time. Most conventional ADHD treatments, they focus on short-term symptom management. Medications work for a few hours a day. Therapy requires ongoing sessions. School accommodations only help manage challenges, not actually solve them. Natural approaches, they take a different path by improving the body's ability to function properly, the brain's ability to function properly. And many children experience fewer ADHD symptoms, better focus, and improved behavior with sort of less reliance on these expensive medications or therapies. So, for example, let's think about one of the best natural ways to reduce ADHD symptoms is changing the diet. Though it might seem difficult, and truth be told, it is difficult at first. Making these changes can give you major long-term savings because a healthy diet reduces the need for expensive interventions by supporting brain function naturally. Or take exercise, okay, another natural remedy, and exercise is totally free, by the way. Regular exercise can reduce the need for medication adjustments and therapy sessions. Now, let's think about those functional lab testing that I was just talking about earlier. These are used to identify hidden stresses in the body. Many children with ADHD, they have underlying imbalances that contribute to their symptoms. Standard ADHD treatments don't address these issues, which means parents spend years managing symptoms instead of solving underlying issues, that gut brain connection, nutritional deficiencies, things like that. Functional lab testing can uncover those nutrient deficiencies, food sensitivities, gut health issues, candida overgrowth or bacterial overgrowth, toxin exposures like heavy metal overload in the body, mold, environmental pollutants. So, by identifying these hidden stresses and then using targeted supplementation to support the body, you can actually create a personalized healing plan, which actually leads to fewer ADHD symptoms without the constant need for medications and therapies. These natural strategies and others like them, they sort of create a cleaner body, which leads to a cleaner mind, which can reduce the need for ongoing symptom management. Most families spend thousands of dollars every single year on ADHD treatments that only manage symptoms, not solve the problem. So, by shifting that focus to natural strategies, you can support your child's brain health. Naturally, you can reduce dependency on expensive medications and therapies. You can give your child the tools to thrive, without relying on a band-aid. So instead of asking, how can I afford ADHD treatment? Why don't you ask, how can I invest in something that actually works long term? Because when you address the underlying stresses of ADHD, you're not just saving money in the long run, you're also giving your child the best chance at a happy, healthy future. Now, maybe you're listening in and thinking, okay, this is all great, but I have no idea where to start. My recommendation is to really join our free ADHD fast class. Super short. It's like 18 minutes long. And that will sort of set the stage to learn how to take control of your child's ADHD naturally without relying solely on medications or therapies that you have to keep paying for year after year. If you'd like to watch the free fast class, you can just comment the word thrive, THRIVE, either on this live training or when I post this to my feed on the replay, and we'll send you the link to sign up and get watching. The training will give you proven strategies that can really help you as you start your journey to reduce ADHD symptoms naturally. As I said, that's the word thrive. You can just type it in the comments, THRIVE. Now, I hope you're feeling more clear on just how much various treatments can cost. I hope you're feeling more sure about your next steps. If you have any questions at all about anything that I've touched on this video, you can always send me a DM, a direct message. I'm always happy to help. But remember, you can comment Thrive on this video. That's it for today, guys. Hope you're all doing well, and I will talk to you next week. Take care. Bye.